So now after we have been able to fetch the data and store these data inside to-dos array, inside the state of the application, now we can get this array, this state data array, and manipulate it inside and use it inside the application. What I'm intending to do right now is that get this to-dos and check if it is empty, then we just display something like loading, because in this case, the data will be in a state of loading. It's not fetched yet. And if it is not empty, if to-dos is not empty, it means that it contains the data and the data being already fetched from the API. In this case, we just need to map through the data and display it inside the component. So in order to do that, let's get rid of this. We need to use JavaScript inside JSX syntax. In order to do that, basically, we just need to use curly braces. So inside the curly braces, we can put our JavaScript logic. So let's get to-dos and check the length of this array. If the length is bigger than 0, it means it's not empty. Then we take this to-dos dot map. We need to map through all the to-dos items. That will give us one item of the array, which is let's call it to-do. And for this to-do, let's for now just console.log to-do dot title. It will complain about this title. We will fix that in a minute. But let's handle the other condition, if else. So it means that if it is 0, if it is empty, then we need to display something like loading, to just display loading. So let's go ahead and handle this situation. So as I mentioned, we are using a TypeScript inside our application. And the main idea of TypeScript is self-explanatory, actually. It handles the types of data. So what is complaining right now, the application is complaining right now, is that the to-do data, the application doesn't know, or TypeScript doesn't know what is the type of this to-do. So basically what we need to do, we need to declare something called interface for this to-do data object. What we can do right now, we need to create interface. I'll call this to-do. You can call it, of course, whatever you want. And this interface will handle the to-do type. So each to-do, let's remember, each to-do will have a title, will have an ID inside it, and also it will have a completed property. So we need to declare this inside this interface. So let's handle the title. The title will be a type of string, and the ID will be the type of number, and the completed property will be a title of Boolean, like so. So basically what we are telling right now the to-do or the application is that we have an interface of type of to-do, and this to-do represents the type of this to-do object of data. So now we need to set this interface into this to-do. How we can do that? We can basically put colon and then the name of the interface. This way we are telling the application or TypeScript that this object of data have has a type of to do interface. Now we can see that the error being hidden. So now after we save the file and check the application and open the terminal DevTools, now we can see that it's displaying the title of each to do. It's what we are telling the React component to display right here, to do right here. Otherwise, it will display loading, and this loading will be fetched and displayed inside here, inside the component, as you can see here. So while the data is being fetched, I'm just refreshing the page. While the data is being fetched, it's displaying loading, because in this case, the to do state is empty. So of course we will use these data in some other way. We don't need just to display the data in our console log of the application. We need to use these data and manipulate it inside our application. But let's first handle this plain text. I don't like to just display this the plain text loading, but I would prefer to create like a separated loading component and display it and put it right here like a separated logic. And this way we can know how we can use components inside to display some other conditions inside our components, like nested components. So in order to do that, to create a separate component, basically you can create the component inside the source folder, but the best practice for that is to create like a separated folder inside the source, and this folder will contain all your components. And in this case, I'm creating components folder, and inside this components folder, let's create a loader component. This should be a separated loader component. So the basic syntax for any functional component is basically a function that returning some object, some JavaScript or JSX element, and also we need to export this function in order to use this function outside of this scope. In this case, we need to use it inside the app component. So in order to do that, basically we can create a function. It should be like it should be like the best practice to use it like as the file name. But of course, you can use any other name. So you can use your loader like this. You can use any other name, but in this case, I will keep it like loader. And this will be like an arrow function. And this arrow function needs to return some GSX. And in order to use GSX inside any component, you need to import React object. Sorry, import React from React. So now we've been able to return some GSX syntax. So for the syntax, we just need to return like loading text in this case. Of course, in normal cases, you will have some other logic in here. We will, of course, we will use some other components to display the to do app, to do object like in separated component. But in this case, we just need to display the loading text. And last thing you need to do is to export default this function or this component in order to use it outside the scope. So let's save and let's go back to this app, and let's go here and import loader from let's go to components. Inside components we have loader, and now we have a loader component, so we can use it instead of this text. Now we save. If we get back in here, if we reload the page, you can see that now we have the loading text displaying that when the to-dos array is empty. So while fetching the data from the API, the app is just displaying this loader component, and that's exactly what we want to do. So basically, this is for this video. I will go ahead and continue in the next one. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next.